Think about practicing. You've been practicing almost a decade or so now. Just imagine another 30 plus years of this. And I'm yet to have anybody who says to me, God, I can't wait. God, I can't wait. Another 30 years of clinical practice is amazing. I could do this forever. Without a doubt, every single person says to me, oh my God, not that long. Hello there, everybody, and welcome to another episode of your 5-Minute Friday. I'm Glenn Krieger, your host. And, I was having a chat with a good friend of mine not long ago, and I will refer to them as they. So you don't know if it's a guy or a gal, but they said to me, how's life, Glenn, with a little less clinical in your life? Because I've cut back my clinical a bit, right? I started practicing dentistry 31 plus years ago, almost 32 years ago. And, I've slowed down a little bit clinically, which is okay for me. And they said, how do you like it? I said, I got to be honest. I really do like it. I like being in clinic less. I like being out of the practice a little bit more. And they said, you know what? I feel the exact same way. And we started musing about the fact that, it's okay to admit that you want to get out of practice at some point, right? Because if you're like my dad's generation, and if you're like almost, I've been doing this 31 years, not the same thing, but I've been in dentistry for 31 years. I'm almost the same. But if you go back to many of our faculty who are older, they practiced clinically for 40 years, 45 years. And I come to all my millennial friends, you know who you are out there. You're all in your late 30s, early 40s. And I say to them, think about practicing. You've been practicing almost a decade or so now. Just imagine another 30 plus years of this. And I'm yet to have anybody who says to me, God, I can't wait. God, I can't wait. Another 30 years of clinical practice is amazing. I could do this forever. Without a doubt, every single person says to me, oh my God, not that long. And you have to start questioning why that is. And I think a large part of it has to do with our workforce, right? You've heard me talk about it. I've stood on stages, and I'm going to call her out again. There aren't many Carol Agugliaros anymore, right? Carol was my dad when he was a dentist. She was his front desk from the time he opened his practice till the time he closed it. And she was at my bar mitzvah. She was at my wedding. She was a part of our family. And we still stay in touch with her to this day. And it's been 20 years since my dad practiced. But those are few and far between. And God bless you if you have a team that's been together nonstop for 5 years or 10 years, or dare say 15 years. But the days of you going out and hiring a 20-year-old right now who's going to work with you till they're 60 years old is kind of slim, if not non-existent. And the idea that you're going to work those 40 years is probably pretty slim as well. And so what I'm just telling you here is not that you need my permission, but it's totally okay for you to look at the profession and go, you know what? I put my time in, I worked hard, I enjoy seeing my patients, but I gotta be honest, today's patients are pulling pieces from me. Today's kids are not compliant on any level because mom and dad are completely bulldozing for them. They're not wearing elastics, they're not brushing their teeth, and I'm to be blamed. And it's okay to say that the profession is a great profession that we all love doing, but maybe not for 40 years. And that brings me to point number 2 is, if your idea is, I don't love practicing for 40 years, I do want to get out a little bit earlier, I want to leave a little earlier, and by the way, I think this is a large part of why people are moving into OSOs and DSOs. And, the idea of practicing for 40 years is, again, kind of daunting. And I think for many people, the idea is get out of school, build an amazing practice, go from 0 to 100 in 5 to 8 years, build that $2, $3, $5, $7, $10 million practice, and then realize that maybe that wasn't exactly what they wanted. And so they're kind of worn out and tired and, or they just want to capitalize on that investment that they put into it and make that money up front. But it's okay if you're one of those, right? And if you want to practice for 40 years and be in your practice running it for 40 years, good for you. That's amazing. You got more stamina and staying power than I do. If you do want to get out early, and when I say early, I don't mean, 35 or 40. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. If you got out of school at 30, built your dream practice, and in 6 years, sell out to an OSO and take a massive sum of money, work for a few years, and then move on to your next stage of life, that's okay. But I want you to start giving some thought. If you say the idea of working 40 years is not for you, I want you to start giving some thought to what that next stage looks like. Now, I'm not asking you to leave your practice right away, but if you're a Gary Vaynerchuk fan, and he was very influential in my life personally in helping me kind of figure out where I wanted to be. I want you to start wondering what your side hustle is, right? And you can start your side hustle now so that in 10 years from now or 15 years from now, you've got a going thing to go into as opposed to, oh, I'll be 50 years old. I'll get out of ortho after 20 years in practice, and then I'm going to go get an MBA at 50. And now you're 52 or 53. And, you can start doing that stuff on the side right now. And believe it or not, you can do stuff that'll actually be complementary to your practice. If you went and got an MBA right now because you want to be in business or private equity or venture capital, or you want to help be a consultant or run practices, you can do that now and it'll help you with your existing practice. But start giving some thought to what that next stage of your career is going to be if you are like many who I speak with, which is, I just can't imagine working for the next 30, 40 years. Just know that I'm always here if you have questions. Reach out to me on Facebook, DM me. And if you have questions, I'll always try to give you my best answers. Sometimes it's great to ask in the Orthopreneurs Facebook group, hey, I've been thinking about X, Y, and Z. And you can post anonymously. These are the sorts of things where anonymous posts are really made for. So just know that if you are, like a lot of the people I personally hear from, who say, look, Glenn, I got out of school 5 years ago. Ortho practice is tough. This is not what my 70-year-old professor explained to me when he or she was teaching me about ortho practice. I can't do this for 30 or 40 years. I'm thinking I'm going to work another few years and then sell to an OSO, work my 5-year contract, and then move on to my next stage with a lot of money in my pocket. Reach out to me. Let's talk about it. I don't have all the answers, but the old saying, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. And it's always easy to see somebody else's problems, and I become the one-eyed man in that situation. So please, reach out to me, DM me. Just know I'm here to help you. And of course, there's no better place for you to get some great advice than at the Orthopreneurs Summit. And this year, on a ship with people for 3 full days at sea, it's going to be a blast. There's going to be amazing CE from people who are not, we don't have one orthodontist on the entire agenda. It's all non-orthos giving you completely different point of views on everything from how to grow your practices, how to reduce your overhead, how to use technology in a better way, how to develop better culture, how to hire better. How to train better. I've got so many great people who are going to speak. So please go to opsummit2024.com. The end of the year is coming and the end of certain cabin categories is coming. So if you want a good room, go sign up. And last but not least, while you're on there, you're going to be rubbing shoulders with everybody, myself included. And a lot of the questions you have in your mind are going to get answered. So yes, I'm all about CE. Yes, I'm all about advancement of learning. But I often think that some of the best feedback we get happens at the bar with a drink or a Fresca or whatever your drink of choice is in your hand while you're sitting down with 4 or 5 other orthodontists just talking about life. Because as I always say, nobody gets us like us. Love you all. opsummit2024.com. Go sign up. And please reach out to me if you have any questions.